and God said, "Let there be light," and turned off the switch. I would very much like someone to explain, where does everyone sees peace and tranquility? Not blah blah, but with words that have actual content. Let me clarify what I mean, so that I am not misunderstood. Whether we like it, the universe is violent. Everything, from the smallest subatomic particle to the larger ensembles, is characterized by a confrontational state. And since we are on that topic, all that scientists mention and esoteric cycles believe, that is, the many dimensions, the parallel worlds, and so many others, are states for internal consumption of one and only principle. I am always referring to the ones with a bright mind. The perception of the external world is a kind of insane, since everything is struggling against everything. The same goes for other areas, though. Let's take, for example, the birth of Christianity. A handful of people decided to change things, and everyone turned against them. Beasts, arenas, massacres. They tried so hard to change the minds of those first Christians, but they couldn't care less. So, the years went by, and out of the poor 2% they initially were. Finally, they became a government. Christianity was now the official religion, and what was the first thing their leaders did? They dressed in gold and killed anyone who had a different point of view. They slaughtered, and slaughtered some more, not giving a damn about the sufferings they caused. If that's not an expression of violence, then what is? This funny quote came to mind for the Communist Syndicate. "Proletarians of the world unite, or I shoot." Anyhow, since we are on holiday season, let's talk about another story, that of the birth of Christ. One thing I'm sure of, things didn't happen exactly the way we were told. Virgin Mary was not the cute Barbie doll, who, in an idyllic stable, gave birth to her first child under the ecstatic gaze of the animals. Stables are places with a lot of dirt, and mostly manure, and that it was like a cave doesn't change much. Even now, in many places, caves are transformed into stables, and that doesn't change the dirt part one bit. The Three Kings would be better at bringing diapers, because if you try to burn frankincense in a stable, let's just say that try to stay inside would be the actual miracle. What can be found in such a birth is sweat and blood that old Joseph, or, at the best, the wife of a shepherd would have to clean. That's what would characterize such a birth, rather than luminous blonde angels who were singing Hosanna. The infant, whether divine or earthly, cried to take his first breath, and probably a shepherd cleaned him up with straws and softly slapped his back to make him cry. One thing is for sure, the angels' chorus did not sing, and no archangel performed a surgical intervention on a celestial level so that a female angel would appear out of the blue with a graceful baby in her hands. Young Jesus was a baby like thousands of others that don't have the well-being and the peace of the surrounding animals in mind, but look for their mother's breast to draw life. I think that the whole birth segment hides violence and leaves a lot of details unanswered. For example, Joseph's role. What did he do during the birth process? Did he encourage Maria to show patience, to push? Or was he lost because of his age? I would very much like to know. What I know is that the picture I described is far more important to me than all the fake images described throughout the years. I consider myself to be a person who honors the Virgin for the truth of her life, which I believe to be more important than the identity of a superhuman origin. Mary and Jesus are placed in the center of my heart, not because they have accepted to descend from the upper levels, but because they have struggled to ascend to them. Those who kept reading so far without being insulted and dismiss me as a friend, out of love, an act of outright nonviolence, you have reached the very essence of this post, to the truth that should move us. Virgin Mary must be glorified because she sweated, because she was in pain, and put herself in danger to give birth. And that is precisely what every child's delivery is, a battle that a woman offers to enable life to continue its violent path. In the days that come, we must celebrate the process of birth, as seen through the eyes of the woman and not as a department store feast. If anyone has the guts, set up the stage in an ordinary barn to see how many will go to worship. Birth is the celebration of Mary, and for me, all births have behind them a Maria crying in pain, swearing to her husband that if he tries to make a move on her again, she will castrate him. Christ's moment is another one, and we better remember him in his course to Golgotha. Overall, it may be said, violence is everywhere. So what, you might ask? As the human species, we must learn to put the right labels in place. Only then we will achieve balance. The correct tag leaves no room for cheating. We know what to expect. If a political party has a world savior label, people will laugh. The right tag for the case is to recognize that everything is characterized by violence. Not that of the man, no way. The one that our wise ancestors suggested when stating that everything is war. What is necessary is the denaturation of this violence into creation. It is the moments we live in the cyclone's eye that characterize creation, moments that we must learn to claim and win. And the magical act we experience if we learn to enter these nonviolent moments hide the ability to understand creation. Not its individual elements, but the very essence of creation. To conclude the festive image, I shall add that I do not mind a Barbie-style Virgin Mary, nor a Christ who just arrived from mother care. Angels with trumpets and kings with gifts are also lovely props. Perhaps it is a childish viral photo and just a photo in my eyes. I keep in my soul as knowledge, however, that if I want help, I will address to Mary and Jesus of the archetypal truths. If not for nothing but because they exist somewhere, I do not know where, contrary to the rest, you can find, along with Joseph, only in department stores these days. The correct quote in Genesis should therefore be, "And God said, 'Let there be light.' And when he turned off the switch, absolute darkness fell on everything. Commonly speaking, everything turned into a fracking mess, unless he merely switched the lights off to leave for other dimensions." P.S. The word state means a different way of being, and is, of one or more principles.